Hello, friends! Welcome back to Book Demystified once again, and today we're going to discuss about the book The Automatic Millionaire Homeowner by David Bach. Now, let me ask you something that's probably been weighing on your mind lately. With home prices in America seeming absolutely insane right now, are you wondering if you've missed the boat on building wealth through real estate? Or maybe you're sitting there thinking that home ownership is just for people who already have money. Well, here's what's going to blow your mind today. David Bach shows exactly how ordinary Americans, people working regular jobs, people who don't consider themselves financially savvy, people who think they can't afford to buy a house, have consistently built more wealth through home ownership than through any other single investment strategy. We're talking about people who started with nothing and ended up with net worths of over $1 million, not through some get-rich-quick scheme, but through the simple act of buying and paying off their homes. But here's the kicker. It's not just about buying any house anywhere. Bach reveals a specific system, a step-by-step approach that he calls the Automatic Millionaire Homeowner strategy that can work even in today's challenging real estate market. And the best part? It requires almost no financial expertise, no complex investment knowledge, and no ability to time the market perfectly. It's literally designed for people who want to build serious wealth but don't want to become full-time real estate investors. Think about this for a second. Right now, while you're listening to this, millions of Americans are paying rent every month. That rent money, let's say $1,500, $2,000, maybe $3,000, just disappears forever. It goes into their landlord's pocket, helps pay off their landlord's mortgage, builds their landlord's equity, and contributes exactly zero to the renter's net worth. Meanwhile, those same renters often believe they can't afford to buy a house, even though in many cases their monthly mortgage payment would be similar to or even less than what they're paying in rent. Bach discovered this wealth-building secret early in his career as a financial advisor when he noticed a pattern among his wealthiest clients. It wasn't the ones who had the highest incomes or the most sophisticated investment portfolios. It was the ones who had bought homes early, made extra payments toward their mortgages, and built up massive amounts of equity over time. These were teachers, firefighters, small business owners, people with very ordinary incomes who had become millionaires almost by accident, simply by being homeowners instead of renters. Here's what really opened Bach's eyes to this strategy. He had a client, a woman named Susan, who worked as a secretary making about $40,000 a year. Nothing fancy, just a regular middle-class job. But when Susan came to see him for retirement planning at age 55, her net worth was over $800,000. The crazy part? Almost all of that wealth had come from her house. She had bought a modest 3-bedroom home in a decent neighborhood 30 years earlier, and through a combination of appreciation and mortgage paydown, that house had become her retirement fund. Susan wasn't a real estate genius. She hadn't flipped houses or bought rental properties or done anything complicated. She had simply bought a house she could afford, lived in it, and made her mortgage payments every month. But here's the key. She had also made one extra mortgage payment per year, which had cut 15 years off her 30-year mortgage and saved her hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest payments. This is where Bach introduces what he calls the automatic millionaire homeowner concept. The word automatic is crucial here because the system works without requiring you to have perfect discipline or make constant financial decisions. Once you set it up correctly, it runs itself, building wealth for you while you focus on living your life. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds too simple to be true, especially in today's real estate market. Home prices have gone through the roof in most American cities. Interest rates have been volatile. There's talk about housing bubbles and market crashes. How can something as basic as buying a house still be a reliable path to wealth building? Here's where Bach's research gets really interesting. He analyzed decades of real estate data across the United States and found that despite all the ups and downs, despite recessions and booms and crashes, homeowners have consistently built more wealth than renters over any significant time period. Even people who bought at what seemed like the worst possible times, right before market downturns, still came out ahead if they held their properties for 10 years or more. The reason is simple math that most Americans never actually calculate. When you rent, 100% of your monthly housing payment is an expense that builds zero wealth. When you own, a portion of every payment goes toward paying down your mortgage, which increases your equity. On top of that, real estate has historically appreciated faster than inflation, meaning your property becomes more valuable over time. And as the cherry on top, the government gives homeowners significant tax advantages that renters don't get. But Bach goes way beyond just telling you to buy a house. He provides a specific system for maximizing the wealth-building potential of homeownership, and it starts with what he calls the buy it, don't rent it principle. This isn't just about your primary residence. It's a complete philosophy about using real estate to build long-term wealth. The first part of this system is understanding what Bach calls the homeowner's advantage. Most Americans think about housing as an expense, but homeowners are actually running a business. Every month, your tenants, and in this case, you are your own tenant, pay rent to the business. Part of that rent pays the business expenses, like taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Part of it pays down the debt on the business asset, and the business asset itself typically appreciates in value over time.
Think about it this way. If you pay $2,000 a month in rent, that's $24,000 a year that disappears completely. But if you pay $2,000 a month on a mortgage, maybe $600 of that goes to taxes and insurance, $400 goes to interest, and $1,000 goes toward paying down the principal. That $1,000 doesn't disappear. It goes directly into your net worth. Plus, the house itself might appreciate by 3 or 4% per year, adding even more to your wealth. Bach breaks this down with real numbers that will probably shock you. He shows how a typical American renter who pays $1,500 a month for 30 years will spend $540,000 and have exactly $0 of wealth to show for it. Meanwhile, a homeowner who buys a modest house with a $1,500 mortgage payment will spend the same $540,000 but end up with a paid-off house worth potentially several $100,000, plus all the tax savings they received along the way. But here's where the system gets really powerful. Bach doesn't just want you to buy a house and make regular payments for 30 years. He wants you to become what he calls an automatic millionaire homeowner by implementing strategies that dramatically accelerate your wealth building. The core strategy is what he calls the automatic mortgage payment system. Instead of making 12 monthly mortgage payments per year, you make the equivalent of 13 payments by adding a small amount to each monthly payment or making one extra payment annually. This simple change can cut 8 to 10 years off a 30-year mortgage and save you literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest payments. Here's how powerful this is with real numbers. Let's say you buy a $300,000 house with a 30-year mortgage at 6% interest. Your monthly payment would be about $1,800. Over 30 years, you'll pay about $650,000 total, meaning you paid $350,000 in interest. But if you add just $150 to each monthly payment, you'll pay off the mortgage in about 22 years and save over $100,000 in interest payments. That extra $150 per month literally creates $100,000 of additional wealth. Bach explains that this works because of how mortgage amortization schedules are structured. In the early years of your mortgage, most of your payment goes toward interest, with only a small amount going toward principal. But when you make extra principal payments, you're essentially jumping ahead in the amortization schedule, eliminating years of future interest payments. Now let's talk about something that stops most Americans from even considering home ownership: the down payment. Here's where Bach addresses this head-on because he knows that the biggest barrier to home ownership isn't qualifying for a mortgage or making monthly payments. It's coming up with the cash for a down payment. Here's where Bach reveals some strategies that most people never learn about. First, you don't need 20% down to buy a house. There are numerous loan programs available to Americans that require as little as 3% down, and some government-backed programs require no down payment at all for qualified buyers. The key is understanding your options and working with lenders who specialize in first-time buyer programs. Bach also shows how to systematically save for a down payment using what he calls the automatic down payment system. Instead of trying to save a huge lump sum all at once, you set up automatic transfers that build your down payment fund gradually and painlessly. Even if you can only save $200 or $300 per month, that adds up to several $1,000s per year, which could be enough for a down payment on a modest starter home in many American markets. But here's something really important that Bach emphasizes. You don't have to buy your dream house right away. The key is getting started as a homeowner, even if it means buying a smaller or less expensive house than you ultimately want. This starter home becomes your entry point into building equity and establishing a track record as a homeowner. Later, you can sell this house and use the equity as a larger down payment for a bigger or better home. This is a concept that many Americans struggle with because we're taught to think about housing as a lifestyle choice rather than an investment strategy. We think we need to buy the perfect house in the perfect neighborhood and live there forever. But Bach shows how strategic homeowners often buy several homes over their lifetime, using the equity from each one to move up to better properties while continuously building wealth. Hey, if you're enjoying our free book summaries and want to support what we do, there are a few easy ways to help. You can subscribe to the channel, become a member, or grab the book using our affiliate link in the description. And if you'd like to go a step further, you can also leave a tip via PayPal or UPI. The link's below. Every bit of support helps us keep creating valuable content for you. Now, let's dive into one of the most powerful concepts in Bach's system, what he calls the millionaire real estate investor strategy. This is where homeownership evolves from just building personal wealth to creating multiple streams of real estate income. Once you've established yourself as a successful homeowner, Bach shows how you can leverage that success to buy investment properties. The equity in your primary residence can become the down payment for rental properties that generate cash flow and additional appreciation. This is how ordinary Americans can build real estate portfolios worth millions of dollars. But Bach is very careful to distinguish between smart real estate investing and the get-rich-quick schemes that got so many Americans into trouble during previous real estate bubbles. His approach is conservative and systematic, focusing on cash-flowing properties in stable markets rather than speculation or flipping. The key principle is what he calls the buy, hold, and rent for cash flow. You buy properties that generate more rental income than their total monthly expenses, including mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. This positive cash flow provides immediate income while the properties appreciate over time and the mortgages get paid down by the rental income. Bach shows how this strategy can create what he calls passive millionaire status. Once you own several cash-flowing rental properties, you're earning money whether you go to work or not. The rental income covers all the property expenses and provides additional income that you can use to buy more properties or simply enjoy financial freedom.
This might sound complicated, but Bach breaks it down into manageable steps. Start with your primary residence and focus on paying it off quickly using the extra payment strategy. Once you have significant equity built up, you can refinance or get a home equity line of credit to fund the down payment on your first rental property. Choose properties in stable neighborhoods where you understand the rental market and can find reliable tenants. The beautiful thing about this system is that it's largely automated once you set it up correctly. Your tenants pay rent, which covers the mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Over time, the properties appreciate and the mortgages get paid down, building your net worth without requiring active involvement from you. Bach also addresses one of the biggest concerns that Americans have about real estate investing, being a landlord. He shows how you can hire property management companies to handle the day-to-day operations of rental properties, making real estate investing truly passive. Yes, property management companies charge fees, but if you choose your properties correctly, there should be enough cash flow to cover these fees and still provide positive returns. Now, let's talk about something that's particularly relevant for Americans in today's economic environment: using homeownership as a protection against inflation. Bach explains how real estate serves as a natural hedge against rising prices because both property values and rental income typically increase along with inflation. When you have a fixed-rate mortgage, your monthly payment stays the same even as inflation drives up the cost of everything else.
Meanwhile, your property value and potential rental income increase with inflation. This creates a powerful wealth-building dynamic, where inflation actually helps homeowners build wealth faster. Think about someone who bought a house in 1990 with a $1,000 monthly mortgage payment. That payment seemed significant at the time, but after 30 years of inflation, $1,000 has much less purchasing power. Meanwhile, the house that cost $150,000 in 1990 might be worth $400,000 or $500,000 today. The homeowner benefited from the appreciation and the fixed-rate mortgage that became cheaper to pay off over time. This inflation protection is especially important for Americans planning for retirement. Retirees on fixed incomes get hurt badly by inflation because their expenses go up while their income stays the same. But retirees who own their homes outright have eliminated their largest monthly expense and can even generate income by downsizing or renting out portions of their property. Bach also reveals some advanced strategies that can dramatically accelerate wealth building for homeowners who are ready to take their real estate investing to the next level. One of these is what he calls the real estate investment trust alternative. Instead of buying individual rental properties, some Americans prefer to invest in REITs, real estate investment trusts, which allow you to own shares in large commercial real estate portfolios. REITs provide exposure to real estate markets without the responsibilities of direct property ownership, and they often pay higher dividends than traditional stocks. Bach shows how you can combine direct real estate ownership with REIT investing to create a diversified real estate portfolio. Your primary residence and maybe one or two rental properties provide direct control and tax advantages, while REITs provide exposure to commercial properties, different geographic markets, and professional management. Another advanced strategy is what Bach calls the house hacking method. This involves buying a duplex, triplex, or four-unit property, living in one unit, and renting out the others. The rental income from the other units helps pay the mortgage, effectively allowing you to live for free while building equity in a larger property. House hacking is particularly powerful for young Americans just starting their careers because it allows them to become real estate investors with minimal cash down. Many first-time buyer programs can be used for owner-occupied multi-unit properties, meaning you could potentially buy a duplex with as little as 3% down, live in half of it, and rent the other half to cover most or all of your housing expenses. Now, let's address something that I know is on many Americans' minds right now: whether it makes sense to buy real estate when prices seem so high and interest rates are volatile. Bach addresses this concern by showing historical data that proves real estate has been a consistent wealth builder regardless of when people bought, as long as they held their properties for significant periods. The key insight is that trying to time the real estate market is just as futile as trying to time the stock market. People who wait for perfect conditions often end up waiting forever while missing out on years of wealth building. Bach shows that the best time to buy real estate is when you're financially ready, regardless of market conditions. This doesn't mean being reckless or buying more house than you can afford. It means understanding that if you're planning to own property for 10 years or more, short-term market fluctuations matter less than the long-term benefits of home ownership. Even if you buy at a market peak, 10 years of mortgage paydown and historical appreciation will likely leave you in a strong financial position. Bach also provides specific strategies for succeeding in challenging real estate markets. In high-priced markets, this might mean starting with a condo or townhouse instead of a single-family home. In markets with limited inventory, this might mean being pre-approved for financing and ready to make quick decisions when good properties become available. The key is adapting the principles to your specific market and financial situation rather than abandoning the strategy altogether. Bach shows examples of Americans who have built significant wealth through real estate in every type of market: expensive coastal cities, affordable Midwest markets, booming Sunbelt regions, and even areas that experience significant downturns. As we start wrapping up our journey through Bach's homeowner wealth building system, I want to emphasize what I think is the most important insight from this book. Homeownership isn't just about having a place to live. It's about creating a systematic wealth-building machine that works automatically once you set it up correctly.
Most Americans think about their housing payment as their largest monthly expense, but Bach shows how homeowners should think about it as their largest monthly investment. Every mortgage payment is adding to your net worth through principal reduction and potential appreciation. Every year of homeownership is building equity that can be used for future investments or financial security. This perspective shift is crucial because it changes how you approach housing decisions. Instead of trying to minimize your housing payment, you focus on maximizing the wealth-building potential of your housing dollars. Instead of viewing mortgage payments as money going down the drain, you see them as automatic investments in your financial future. The compound effect of this mindset over decades is enormous. Bach shows examples of Americans who started with modest incomes and basic homes but ended up with multi-million-dollar net worths simply by consistently applying homeowner wealth-building principles over time. But remember, the system only works if you actually implement it. Bach emphasizes that knowledge without action is worthless. You can understand every principle in this book, but if you don't take the steps to become a homeowner and implement the extra payment strategies, you'll still be in the same financial position years from now. This is why Bach focuses so heavily on automation. He knows that most people have good intentions but struggle with consistency. By setting up automatic systems, automatic extra mortgage payments, automatic savings for down payments, automatic investment contributions, you remove the need for perfect discipline and willpower. The final lesson that Bach drives home is that real estate wealth building isn't about getting rich quick. It's about getting rich for sure. The strategies in this book won't make you wealthy overnight, but they will make you wealthy eventually if you stick with them consistently. This long-term perspective is especially important for younger Americans who might be impatient for results. The wealth-building power of homeownership compounds over time, meaning the benefits accelerate as the years go by. Someone who starts implementing these strategies in their 20s will be in a dramatically different financial position by their 40s than someone who waits to get started. So, here's how you can start implementing Bach's Automatic Millionaire Homeowner system right now. First, if you're currently renting, begin systematically saving for a down payment and research first-time buyers programs in your area. Many Americans are surprised to learn about the assistance programs available to help with down payments and closing costs. Second, if you're already a homeowner, calculate how much extra principal payment you can afford each month and set up automatic payments to accelerate your mortgage payoff. Even an extra $50 or $100 per month can save you tens of thousands of dollars in interest and cut years off your mortgage. Third, start educating yourself about real estate markets and investment opportunities in your area. Read local real estate publications, attend investor meetups, and build relationships with real estate agents who specialize in investment properties. Knowledge and relationships are the foundation for expanding beyond your primary residence into income-producing properties. Fourth, consider working with a financial advisor who understands real estate investing and can help you integrate property ownership into your overall wealth-building strategy. The tax advantages and leverage opportunities available to real estate investors are complex, and professional guidance can help you maximize these benefits. Most importantly, start thinking like an automatic millionaire homeowner rather than a renter or passive homeowner. Every housing dollar you spend should be evaluated based on its wealth-building potential. Every property decision should consider not just immediate comfort and convenience, but long-term financial impact. The path to becoming an automatic millionaire homeowner isn't complicated, but it does require commitment and consistency. The Americans who build significant wealth through real estate aren't necessarily the smartest or the luckiest. They're the ones who understand the system and stick with it long enough for compound growth to work its magic. Your million-dollar real estate portfolio is waiting to be built, one automatic payment at a time.